Hey there, Will Marshall here, hope you're all good. Today I've taken delivery of a new mobile phone, and this one has been the iPhone 12 mini. Okay, right, so I've spent 2 weeks now with my iPhone 12 mini. Here it is, product red finish, and I've got some thoughts I want to share with you on the phone. I've been using this as my daily driver for the last 2 weeks, and it's been great to use. But I've got some thoughts and some feelings about it, and I want to share those kind of broken down into 4 main areas. I want to talk about the price of the phone and where that sits in kind of the iPhone lineup. And the rest of the smartphone market, really. I want to talk about the form factor. It's a big selling point, I think, for the Mini as well. I want to talk about the performance, particularly focusing on the battery life, because I think that's one of the concerns people have voiced about this phone over other phones in the iPhone lineup in 2020. And then finally talk about the cameras. Again, I think they're worth a mention for this phone. So let's talk about the price straight up. Okay, so the iPhone 12 Mini here in product red, the base model is £699. It is the cheapest of the iPhone 12 line. It's £100 cheaper than the regular iPhone 12, which remember you get there exactly the same spec, but a slightly bigger 6.1 inch display. It comes in at a cool £300 cheaper than the iPhone 12 Pro, and then £400 than the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So you've got a big difference in price points there. One thing I should mention about the prices here is that Apple still are only offering a 64GB base model of the iPhone 12. The iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max both have 128GB. So what I did for this phone, I spent a little bit more, the £50 extra, and got 128 gigs of storage for my phone. Mainly because I use it for a lot of video, as you may see, and I take lots of photographs with it. So that's kind of just a bit of a buffer for me. I didn't actually find that I ran out of space on my 64GB iPhone XS, which I had before this. But yeah, I think it's just something to bear in mind with that price point. Again, if you're looking for to upgrade to an iPhone 12, but you don't want to perhaps spend as much money, then the iPhone 12 mini is worth a look, because that $699 is a really enticing price point for this sort of flagship level iPhone in 2020. Okay, right, so let's talk about the iPhone mini's form factor. And I think this is probably the biggest selling point of the phone, in all honesty. It's what differentiates it most from the rest of the iPhone 12 line. It's this small, compact 5.4 inch display in a compact body, and it really is great. Holding it in your hand, it's a really compact format. You can hold it, you get a really nice satisfying grip when you're holding the phone. You don't feel like it's getting away from you in any area. You can really get to all corners of the phone, especially edge to edge. I mean, I wouldn't say you can get to the top corners without stretching, but edge to edge you can get everywhere on the bottom sort of 2/3 of that display without having to stretch. It kind of goes back to the days, the original iPhone SE, the iPhone 5S sort of size, especially with that sort of squared off edges. It is great, and I think it's something to think about. It's not for everyone, for sure, but I think definitely if you are someone who is into that sort of size and really likes the idea of a compact yet powerful phone, Apple have got you covered with the iPhone 12 mini, because there isn't anything else really out there of this sort of form factor with a flagship spec. They haven't crippled it. They've kept a lot of things exactly the same as before. And I think that's a really great win for them. I think it's really good, and I hope they continue to do this with their phones going forward. Okay, right, let's talk about the performance a little bit here. So all of the iPhone 12 phones share essentially the same internals. They all have an A14 Bionic chip, which is Apple's latest A-series processor. The two 12 models have 4GB of RAM, whilst the Pro models have a slight increase up to 6GB of RAM. I don't think that's going to be a massive differentiator for a lot of people using an iPhone in regular use, but that's something to consider if you are someone who really wants the top edge spec. But then the Mini itself here is crucially not crippled in terms of its larger brother, the 12. I have found absolutely no problem. I didn't really have much of a problem with my iPhone XS after 2 years of use, really. This is definitely faster, noticeably slicker in the transitions. You can make it even quicker in transitions, I found, by sort of disabling a lot of the motion settings. That's what I do by default, it's my preference. But I think the one area of the performance that people are worried about with the iPhone 12 mini is its battery life. So yeah, Apple have put a 2200 mAh battery in this. I believe that's the spec people have been quoting. Which is considerably less than a lot of the other smartphones that you can buy today, especially those and a lot of those bigger ones from the Android space, which have 4,500 milliamp hour batteries these days. So you've got this iPhone which has got almost half that battery capacity. How is it going to fare in day-to-day use? But my take on the iPhone 12 mini here is, specifically compared to the rest of the 12 line, I think if you're a heavy user here and you're going to be someone who's using this phone sort of screen on time being 5-6 hours a day, right? You're doing lots of browsing of the web, lots of social media, you play games on it regularly, and you watch videos on there, and lots of YouTube, whatever, Netflix, then I think this phone is not going to be the one for you. I think you probably might get a full day's use, but you're going to be certainly running out, as you're getting into the late evening of the day if you're using it like that. That's not how I use it, so I'm being quite subjective really at that. I did push this screen on time a bit. I had it on navigation mode. I was using Google Maps to navigate somewhere last week, and I had the screen on time pushed up to about 5 hours. I did still get easily a full day's use, and I got through from taking it off charge about 8 o'clock in the morning, and it had about 20% left when I went to bed at midnight. So that got me through a full day's use there. But for me personally, I don't use my phone quite like that. So my screen on time on average is between 1 and 3 hours normally. That's kind of my screen on time, and for that I'm getting around 1.5 days, sometimes even 2 full days of use out of this phone at the moment. I'm using it as I regularly would. I'm listening to music via Bluetooth, I'm listening to music at night when I've got headphones plugged in, I'm doing some browsing of social media during the day, I'm checking my emails, writing messages, all that sort of thing. I'm using it as I would normally use a smartphone, and I'm still getting that use. So I think my kind of bottom line there is that I wouldn't be too worried about the battery life of the iPhone 12 mini. It's not going to be, I think, a huge sticking point for you if you're using it in regular use. And I think there's people who want to use it more for kind of video gaming anyway. The bigger screen may be a better draw for you. I don't think you're going to have much of an issue really with the battery life in day-to-day use. Okay, right, so my final area of discussion here is the cameras. Apple have done, they do great stuff with their smartphone photography. They've done quite a bit with fixed hardware over the years and really improving their software photography, their computational photography in the last few iPhones, which has been great. They have given the cameras on the 12 line, including the 12 mini, a little bit of a spec bump this year. So you have a wide angle lens which has got a slightly wider f1.6 aperture, which is great. That should really help with low light shots in particular. It also has an ultra wide lens. I forget the size of the aperture for that, but it's 120 degree field of view. I think coming from an iPhone 11, it's not going to be much of an upgrade for you here. I think they had a very similar set of cameras. I think the aperture of the wide camera was slightly smaller. So maybe if nighttime shots are really important to you, then you could look for that upgrade. But I mean, certainly someone coming from an older iPhone, someone who's holding on to their iPhone 6 through 8 for dear life because they love that size, and they've only got a single camera set up. If they really want to get to a more modern iPhone, the camera system here is going to be a massive upgrade for you. I mean, even for me, and I came from an iPhone XS, 2-year-old iPhone, I was really keen on kind of the camera spec in this phone, mainly the ultra wide, but I was also sold on the idea of having this slightly better wide angle camera with the night mode option there for low light shots. Okay, so I want to take you through some photographs I've taken and some video footage I've taken over the last couple of weeks, just to show you how it performed, and I want to compare it a bit with my iPhone XS. Okay, so first up we've got this shot taken with the main wide-angle lens, and as you can see in good lighting conditions you get some fantastic shots from the iPhone 12 mini's camera. This one here you can see there's quite a lot of dynamic range going on, capturing the bright sun on the water and also clearly defining the shadows of the trees as well. The colour I think is really natural and it's a really nice reproduction of the scene. So next up we've got a similar scene but with the ultra wide lens here, the 120 degree field of view ultra wide lens, and again I think this is also an awesome job. This is a slightly trickier shot, shooting directly into the sun, but the dynamic range is done really well to preserve the shadows in the trees as well as those bright spots in the sun and on the water, keeping the colours also very natural. Another couple of tricky shots here in different lighting conditions. So on the left you've got inside taken at a birthday party. Again, it's quite warm and blown out, but the definition is good, the pictures are sharp. And on the right, we've got this really nice shot taken in the winter, where again, tricky conditions with the light and the tree branches, but I think the phone has done an awesome job capturing that image. Okay, right, so let's take a look at a couple of portrait mode shots. So the iPhone's always been a really well reviewed phone camera for portrait mode shots, and I think with the iPhone 12 mini, you're not going to be disappointed here at all. The image on the right, you can really see the sharp edges defined against the object, but on the left, the fur of the toy bear, you can kind of see the edge detection is struggling a little bit in that scenario. Okay, so here I want to do a comparison with my iPhone XS in lower light conditions. Now, on the left there, you have the XS's image. It's fairly muted, as you can see, lower light conditions, but as the 12 mini comes in here, we can really see that wide aperture is having a huge effect on the light that's getting into the camera. You can see it's much brighter. The leaves are keeping their definition on the pavement and in the hedgerow, and if you can look to the back, there's that street lamp which appears far less blown out than it does on the iPhone XS image. These second shots are taken in much darker conditions, as highlighted by the iPhone XS camera, and then when you bring in the 12 mini, I mean, there's really no competition. It's really a nice image here. It's blown out the light far more than was possible at the time. It was a really dark scene, but there you've got clear definition, detail in the trees and the hedgerow, and also the light at the end of the street again appears less blown out than on the XS. So you've got clearly a much better low light performing camera here. And finally, a comparison of the Christmas tree in the town where I live. On the left you've got the iPhone XS, and then on the right the 12 mini, and clearly here you can see the 12 mini wins out again in this low light shot. Tricky conditions as well, given the bright light source coming from the star and the spots of the Christmas lights, but it's kept the definition in the pine needles of the tree, and also really nicely highlighted the shades in the clouds as well, the deep blue sky in the clouds. Okay, so finally let's have a quick look at the front-facing camera on the iPhone 12 mini. On the left is a shot of me taken on the train going into London. I think the detail in my face is pretty good despite the really warm colours. And then on the right-hand side you've got a shot of me taken with the portrait mode on the front-facing camera, which is a fairly new feature for the iPhone line. And as you can see, it does a fairly good job, even given the fairly low light conditions of the scene. It's caught the edges around my head and my pretty hair pretty well, so I think overall a really decent shot. Okay, so let's take a look at some video footage now from the iPhone 12 mini. iPhones have always been really well regarded as having a great video camera built in, and these 12 range models are no exception, as you can see here. Really great image stability, great detail, and of course they also include a slow-mo capability here. This is shot at 240 frames per second when it slows down in HD. There's no 4K. As you can see, the colours are pretty natural here. Nothing's blown out too much. You can really see the detail caught in the waves. I think it's a great looking all-round. You're not going to be too disappointed with the video capabilities on the iPhone 12 mini. Yeah, so coming back to this, I think the bottom line is the camera system on this iPhone 12 line is really great, I have to say. Coming from, say, my 2-year-old iPhone XS, I see a noticeable improvement in sort of all picture quality, really, but especially in low light condition. I mean, the low light shots you can get on this phone are kind of quite astounding, really, especially if you haven't seen that before. If you've got an older iPhone, you're looking to upgrade, that's going to be a real kind of treat for you to be able to take these, fantastic looking nighttime shots. Okay, right, let's wrap this up a bit now. So, final thoughts and conclusions about the iPhone 12 mini. I think in 2020, I think it's an astounding phone, especially in this compact form factor. You're not going to find anything really that compares to this, I think, in the Android space at this size. I mean, you can go a little bit larger. There are compact-ish Android phones, other iPhones that are compact as well, 5.8-inch screens. But if you really want to have a compact one-handed use phone, I think there isn't much you can do to go wrong with this. It's a great device. I don't think battery life is going to be a huge issue for a lot of people. Regular use, I think you'll get by just fine. Certainly full day's use, if not more, if you're using it. If you have the luxury of being able to charge it in the middle of the day, I think that's not be a problem. And I think anyone here who's looking to upgrade from an older iPhone, iPhone 6 through iPhone 8, or that sort of old style iPhone, then this is a great option for you there. You're going to get your compact form factor. You're not going to get a huge phone in your hands, but you're going to get the luxury of a bigger display. This edge-to-edge display makes it look fantastic. You're going to have all the great options, all the great features that the iPhone 12 line has to offer. This great performance, great cameras, and I think you get it for this compact size. So there you go. That's kind of my thoughts on the iPhone 12. I'm going to certainly be keeping mine. I'm not going to be returning this. It's fantastic. I really like it. I'm really happy with my choice, especially the product red one, which, as you see, I love my red tech. As always, please do leave any comments you might have or questions on the iPhone 12 mini. I'll be happy to answer those, get back to you with those. Please do like the video if you like what you see, and also subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more from me. Click that little bell icon to make sure you get updated whenever I post new content. It'll mean a lot to me. I really enjoy doing this, so your support is always much appreciated. Okay, so with that, all I can do is sign off here and say stay safe, take care, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.